I'll be happy when this, that, or the other happens. We've all had this thought at one point or another. We spend our lives searching for happiness and fulfillment by escaping the here and now, or rather by escaping the present moment. We reminisce on the good old days or look forward to a kinder future. Why do we do this? According to the spiritual teacher and best-selling author Eckhart Tolle, the past gives us an identity and the future holds the promise of salvation or fulfillment in whatever form. Both of these are illusions. In his book, The Power of Now, Eckhart Tolle explains how we have no control over the past or future. The only moment we can impact and have control over is the present moment. Now, I want to start this video off by giving a quick background on who Eckhart Tolle is, as I think it will help provide context for the remainder of the video. Growing up, Eckhart Tolle was riddled with anxiety and crippling depression. It got so bad that he was on the brink of committing suicide. At age 29, Eckhart experienced an inner transformation. To put it bluntly, Eckhart experienced an ego death, allowing him to be immensely present. Eckhart spent the next few years of his life enjoying this newfound bliss and peace, and eventually began to teach what he'd learned to other people, and then wrote the book The Power of Now about it. So that's the background of Eckhart Tolle. Now let's talk about the first takeaway of The Power of Now, which is understanding the ego. Now, according to Eckhart Tolle, the ego is that voice in your head that tries to control what you think and how you behave. Eckhart calls this ego the false self, to which the present moment is unimportant. Your ego dictates what makes you happy and makes you add judgments to events around you. Now, by adding judgments to events, the ego traps you in an endless thought pattern. Finally, this in turn prevents you from being present. It's a pretty vicious cycle. For example, let's consider the rich kid who identifies his self-worth with his possessions. He then spends the rest of his life in the pursuit of more possessions. He is never satisfied with what he has. This is because his ego convinces him that his possessions make him who he is, and the more he gathers, the more he will be happy. So that's an example right there of what the ego is. Now, the second takeaway of the book is you are not your thoughts. So now that we know that the ego is harmful and distracts us from connecting with our presence and our true selves, let's talk about how we can disconnect from our ego, if only for a brief moment. Eckhart Tolle tells us that presence is the only antidote to the ego. So how do we cultivate presence? Well, the first step is to understand you are not your thoughts. Eckhart tells us that we are the awareness behind our thoughts, also known as the watcher or observer of our thoughts. Now, to better explain this, I want you to ask yourself, what am I thinking right now? Now, inevitably, a thought will pop up in your mind. Whatever it is, notice it without judgment. When you do this, you become the watcher of your thoughts, also known as the observer of your thoughts. An example here could be that you're in a movie theater and your mind is the screen, and instead of acting in the movie, you're watching it. By doing so, you're fully present and aware of the mental noise in your head. So that's the second key point in the book, is that you are not your thoughts. The third key takeaway is how to be more present. Now that we have a better understanding of the ego and how we can kind of disconnect from it, now let's tie it together by highlighting how we can embrace the present moment. Eckhart tells us that our body is the primary tool to get our minds back to the present moment. When we are lost in thoughts, particularly negative thoughts, our bodies tense up. We clench our fists, start sweating, and become stiff. In moments like this, connecting with your inner body is the key. Focusing on your breath, closing your eyes, feeling your heartbeat are all examples of you connecting with your inner state. By doing so, you can bring down your heart rate and just focus on what the problem is on a moment-to-moment basis. So by connecting with your inner body, you're connecting with the present moment. Now, as I end this video, I want to share my favorite quote from The Power of Now. This is a quote that has genuinely changed how I approach my life. It's actually a quote that I come back to a lot in my life. The quote reads, "Nothing has happened in the past, it has happened in the now. Nothing will ever happen in the future, it will happen in the now." So please embrace the present moment, guys. So on that note, that's the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed this book summary. If you did, then go ahead and click the like button and share it with your friends. And if you're interested in more book summaries, philosophy content, or just self-development content in general, then consider subscribing to the channel. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next one.